In the late 1990s, the Pentagon set out to solve a massive logistical headache. Instead of maintaining separate fleets for different military branches, the Pentagon wanted one universal fighter plane to do it all. The Joint Strike Fighter program demanded a single airframe that could operate as a supersonic fighter for the Air Force, a short takeoff and landing jet for Navy aircraft carriers, and a hovering jump jet for the Marines. Project management experts like Dr. Tae Woo later noted that treating a fighter jet like a multi-purpose tool is a glaring engineering mistake. You're asking one machine to satisfy entirely contradictory sets of physics. For the Marines, the F-35B required massive vertical lift fans and complex exhaust nozzles to perform a vertical landing. But housing those internal fans compromised the aerodynamics required for the Air Force to fly supersonic stealth missions. By forcing three divergent needs into a single package, the core design became limited. Every required function dragged down the performance of the others. When the initial development cost for this universal plane was estimated in 2001, the price tag sat at $34.4 billion. To meet aggressive timelines, the Pentagon adopted a high-risk acquisition strategy called concurrency. This meant rushing to mass-produce the jets before the design and testing phases were actually finished. The Government Accountability Office examined this overlapping schedule and explicitly labeled the business model as unexecutable, warning that building untested planes would lead to inevitable redesigns. The military proceeded anyway. Taxpayers were locked into a cycle where unproven, flawed designs rolled off the assembly line, necessitating decades of expensive retrofits. 2 decades later, the consequences of early compromises are bottlenecking the assembly line. The program is battling severe supply chain shortages and manufacturing delays. This chart shows engine delivery timelines from 2018 to 2023. In the final column, Pratt & Whitney failed to deliver a single engine on time in 2023, resulting in a 100% late delivery rate. This data shows a similar trend for airframes. Lockheed Martin fell behind on 91% of aircraft deliveries in 2023. This timeline traces the delay of the TR-3 software. This core processor update was originally scheduled for July 2023, but it has slipped entirely off schedule into late 2024. Because the government refuses to accept incomplete planes, Lockheed Martin has been forced to park brand new F-35s directly on the tarmac. The manufacturer is building jets that lack the functional software required to fly them. The attempt to streamline military aviation with a single, universal design achieved the exact opposite. It created a fragile system where a single software glitch or part shortage halts the delivery of aircraft to the front lines. The original $34 billion development plan reached $80 billion. Total acquisition costs sit at $442.3 billion. The operational burden is staggering. It costs $33,300 per flying hour. The total life cycle estimate to sustain the fleet through 2088 crosses $2 trillion. The true financial weight of the Joint Strike Fighter program is not what it costs to buy the planes. It is the massive taxpayer-funded sustainment cost required just to keep these overly complex machines operational. Beyond the balance sheets, the design compromises have resulted in severe real-world consequences. The fleet has experienced a sequence of catastrophic incidents, beginning with a crash in South Carolina in 2018. This was followed by a total loss off the coast of Japan in 2019, and another severe crash at a base in Utah in 2022. In December 2022, a crash involving the Marines' vertical landing F-35B variant forced the Pentagon to completely halt all engine deliveries while investigators searched for the cause. Then, in September 2023, a $100 million jet malfunctioned over South Carolina. The pilot was forced to eject, and the military temporarily lost track of the aircraft entirely. Audits revealed technical vulnerabilities, from integrated core processors failing during startup to the risks of turbulence downwash when the plane operates in its hovering mode. These physical failures demonstrate that cascading engineering compromises carry a human cost. They actively endangered the lives of the pilots flying them. This chart compares average labor hours to the time spent fixing production defects. The data reveals tens of thousands of labor hours wasted purely on scrap, rework, and repair. Despite delivering delayed hardware and flawed software, contractors Lockheed Martin and Pratt & Whitney continue securing massive guaranteed government contracts to build these very machines. Because the military is refusing to accept any new jets until the TR-3 update is functional, there is a historic backlog of parked, undeployable planes sitting at the production facilities. Clearing this bottleneck will require an extreme logistical effort. Defense officials estimate they will need to test and certify 20 planes every single month just to catch up on the backlog once the software is finally ready. The institutional structure of modern defense procurement operates as a shield. It ensures that major contractors rarely face the full financial consequences of their own engineering failures. Today, the aircraft remains in a restricted status. The $16.5 billion Block 4 modernization program for radar and weapons upgrades remains severely delayed. The situation became so bloated that in 2021, the executive officer warned these unchecked costs pose an existential threat to the military's broader acquisition budget. The ongoing crises stem directly from that original foundational flaw, the hubris of attempting to build an aircraft to be a jack of all trades, leaving it a master of none. Former Chairman Adam Smith offered a stark assessment of the decades-long endeavor, describing the aircraft as a financial rat hole that simply drains money. Ignoring decades of warnings, the Pentagon committed taxpayers to a $2 trillion cycle of repair and retrofits, simply because the institution deemed the F-35 too pricey to fail.